The year is 2387. Humanity has been part of the Galactic Council for 50 years, known as the feared Deathworlders from Earth, a planet so hostile that most alien species consider it a nightmare realm. Opening scene: the story begins aboard the luxury cruise ship Starlight Dream, carrying 3,000 passengers from the peaceful Kalari species through what they believed was safe space. The Kalari are small, gentle beings with pale blue skin and large eyes, evolved from a world with no predators. Captain Nira stood on the bridge, her delicate hands shaking as she watched the scanner displays. Dozens of red dots surrounded her. Ship, pirates from the savage Rock Empire. The Rock were massive, brutal warriors who enslaved weaker species for profit. "Captain, they're demanding we surrender," reported her communications officer, his voice barely a whisper. "They want all passengers as slaves." Nira closed her eyes. The Kalari had no weapons, no military. They were scholars, artists, and philosophers who had never known war. Their ships were built for comfort, not combat, the plea for help with trembling fingers. Nira activated the emergency beacon that would reach the Galactic Council. But she knew the truth. No council species would arrive in time. The peaceful Zenthari would take days to mobilize. The logical Vexen would debate the situation for hours. The proud Altarian would demand payment first. There was only one option. "Left, send a distress call to Earth," she whispered. Her crew stared at her in horror. Everyone knew the humans were dangerous. They came from a world where everything tried to kill them, from tiny bacteria to massive predators. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that would have destroyed any other species. "Captain, the humans, they're Deathworlders." Her officer stammered. "What if they're worse than the pirates?" Nira looked at the approaching rock warships. "At least the pirates only want slaves. The humans, no one knows what they want." She sent the message anyway. "This is Captain Nira of the Kalari vessel Starlight Dream. We are under attack by Rock pirates. 3,000 civilians aboard. Please ... anyone ... help us." The human response light years away. The message reached Earth's newest military station, Outpost Cerberus. Commander Jack Miller, a weathered veteran with scars across his face, read the transmission. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Emma Torres, looked over his shoulder. "Sir, it's outside our patrol zone," she said. "Council protocols say we should forward this to the appropriate authorities." Jack studied the message again. 3,000 civilians. He thought of his own daughter, somewhere safe on Earth, and imagined her trapped on a ship surrounded by slavers. "Prep the Warhound for immediate departure," he ordered. "Full combat loadout." "Sir, that's a council violation." "We could face..." "Lieutenant, when someone calls for help, we answer. That's what humans do." The pirates' ultimatum back on the Starlight Dream. The Rock Commander General Voss appeared on the main screen. He was enormous, with red skin, massive tusks, and eyes like burning coals. His voice boomed through the speakers. "Kalari scum, you have 1 hour to surrender. Every passenger will serve as slaves in our mining colonies. Resist, and we'll take you anyway, but half will die in the process." "Captain." Nira's communications officer suddenly looked up from his console, his face pale with new terror. "Captain, there's a response to our distress call." "The Council?" she asked hopefully. "No, ma'am. It's from Earth. A human ship is coming." The bridge fell silent. Everyone had heard the stories. Humans who fought wars for centuries, who turned their entire planet into a fortress, who looked at the galaxy's most dangerous predators and decided to make them into pets. "How long until they arrive?" Nira asked. 18 minutes, Captain." Nira stared at the view screen, showing the circling rock ships. 18 minutes. Would the pirates wait? Would the humans help? Or would they see the Kalari as just another weak species to exploit? She thought of the human phrase she'd heard once. From the depths of hell, they came. Soon, she would learn what it truly meant when Deathworlders answered a call for aid. The Rock didn't know it yet, but their easy prey had just called upon the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. And humans had a saying about bullies that the pirates were about to learn first than asterisk. The warhound cut through space like a knife through silk. Unlike the elegant curves of council ships, it was all sharp angles and brutal efficiency. Every surface was armored, every system built for war. Commander Jack Miller stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display. 12 Rock Raiders, standard configuration, reported Lieutenant Torres. They've got the civilian ship surrounded in a sphere formation. Jack nodded. The pirates were using textbook tactics. Surround the prey, cut off escape routes, force surrender. It worked against every other species in the galaxy. But they'd never faced humans before. What's our ETA? He asked. 4 minutes, sir. Should we hail them first? Attempt negotiations? Jack's laugh was cold. Emma, when you see a pack of wolves attacking sheep, do you negotiate with the wolves? The bridge crew exchanged glances. They all knew that look in their commander's eyes. It was the same look their ancestors had when they faced down saber-toothed tigers and charging mammoths. The look that said, something is about to die, and it won't be us. The pirates' confidence on the Rock flagship Blood Fang. General Voss was enjoying himself. He walked among his warriors, all of them eager for the easy victory ahead. The Kalari ship was beautiful. It would fetch a good price after they stripped out the passengers. General, called his sensor operator, there's another ship approaching. Small vessel, unknown design. Voss barely glanced at the display. Probably another passenger liner trying to run. Have 2 ships intercepted. We can always use more slaves. His lieutenant, a scarred warrior named Krell, studied the readings more carefully. Sir, this ship ... it's not running. It's coming straight at us. And its energy signature is ... strange. Strange how? It's military, sir. Heavy military. I've never seen weapon signatures like this. Voss finally looked at the screen. The approaching ship was small compared to his fleet, but there was something about its design that made his warrior instincts prickle. It looked like it was built for one purpose: killing. What species? He demanded. Checking databases ... Sir, it's from Earth. It's a human ship. The bridge went quiet. Even the Rock had heard whispers about the Deathworlders. Stories of a species so violent they turned war into an art form. But surely those were just stories to frighten younglings. 1 ship, Voss growled. 12 of ours. Even Deathworlders can do math. First contact on the Starlight Dream. Captain Nira watched her screens with growing fear and hope. The human ship was tiny compared to the Rock fleet, but something about it made her feel safer. Captain, the human vessel is hailing us, her communications officer reported. Put them through. Commander Miller's face appeared on screen. Nira had never seen a human before. He looked remarkably similar to her own species, but there was something in his eyes, a hardness that spoke of countless battles survived. Captain Nira, this is Commander Miller of the Earthship Warhound. We received your distress call. Commander, thank you for coming, but there are 12 enemy ships. You should call for backup. Miller's smile was like winter ice. Ma'am, we are the backup. Please move your ship away from the pirates. Things are about to get loud. Before she could respond, the human ship changed course, accelerating directly toward the center of the rock formation. Nira's tactical officer gasped. Captain, that human ship. It's not trying to escape or find cover. It's attacking. All 12 ships at once. The first strike General Voss watched in disbelief as the human ship dove into his formation like a meteor. Are they insane? Open fire, all ships. The rock fleet opened up with everything they had. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled space around the human ship. But the Warhound moved like nothing Voss had ever seen, twisting, spinning, diving through the weapon's fire as if it could predict every shot. Then the humans fired back, the Warhounds. Weapons were unlike anything in the rock arsenal. Instead of the standard energy beams, they fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The first shot punched through the shields of a rock raider like they were made of paper, tearing the ship in half. Impossible, Voss roared. Our shields can stop anything. Lieutenant Krell was frantically checking his instruments. Sir, those aren't energy weapons. They're firing chunks of metal at near light speed. Our shields are designed to stop plasma, not solid matter. A second rock ship exploded, then a third. The human vessel moved through their formation like death itself, each shot precise and devastating. On the Starlight Dream, Captain Nera watched in stunned silence as the impossible happened. The humans weren't just fighting the pirates, they were hunting them. Space around the Starlight Dream had become a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The remaining 9 rock ships tried desperately to reform their attack pattern, but the human vessel moved like a living thing, anticipating every move. Commander Miller stood calm on his bridge while chaos erupted around them. Torres, target the command ship. Let's cut off the head of this snake. Sir, they're trying to surround us again. Let them try. The Warhound suddenly reversed direction, something that should have been impossible at those speeds. The rock ships, expecting the humans to continue forward, found themselves firing at empty space while the human ship appeared behind them. The Kalari's Revelation captain, Nera, gripped her command chair as another rock ship exploded in brilliant fire. Her science officer, a young Kalari named Tom, was studying the human ship's movements with wide eyes. Captain, I don't understand what I'm seeing. The humans should be dead. Those acceleration forces would turn any of us into paste. Maybe their ships have better technology? No, ma'am. I'm reading life signs inside that ship. They're not using artificial gravity or dampeners. They're actually surviving those maneuvers. His voice dropped to a whisper. What kind of beings can withstand forces that would kill us instantly? Nera thought about Earth's reputation as a death world. She'd always assumed it was propaganda, stories meant to make humans seem more dangerous than they really were. Now she was beginning to understand. It wasn't propaganda. It was a warning. The pirate's growing fear. General Voss watched his fleet being torn apart and felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. His warriors, who had terrorized peaceful species across the galaxy, were being systematically destroyed by a single enemy ship. Sir, we've lost 5 ships, Krell reported, his voice shaking. Should we retreat? Retreat? From 1 ship? But even as he said it, Voss was considering the option. The humans fought like nothing he'd ever encountered. They didn't just want to win, they wanted to destroy completely. Another of his ships vanished in a ball of fire. 6 down. General, the human ship is hailing us. Voss straightened, trying to regain his composure. Put them through. Maybe we can negotiate. Commander Miller's face appeared on screen. His expression was cold, professional, and utterly without mercy. General Voss, I presume? This is your only warning. Release the civilian ship and surrender. Immediately, Voss snarled, showing his massive tusks. Human, you face the might of the Rock Empire. We are warriors born. We do not surrender to lesser species. Miller's smile was terrifying in its complete lack of warmth. General, you misunderstand. I'm not asking you to surrender to a lesser species. I'm telling you to surrender to humans. And we're not lesser anything. The transmission cut off. The demonstration, what happened next, would be talked about in Galactic Council meetings for years to come. The Warhound stopped moving, hanging motionless in space, as if presenting itself as an easy target. All 6 remaining. Rock ships immediately opened fire, pouring everything they had into the human vessel. The energy barrage was so intense it lit up space like a small sun. No ship could survive that concentrated firepower. The Calere on the Starlight Dream watched in horror, thinking their rescuers had just been vaporized. But when the light faded, the Warhound was still there. Not just intact, completely undamaged. Impossible, breathed General Voss. Nothing can withstand that much firepower. Commander Miller's voice came over the comm, calm and almost bored. Is that all? Our ship's armor is designed to survive asteroid impacts and solar flares. Your weapons are adequate, I suppose. The psychological effect was devastating. They, Rock, who had built their entire culture around strength and intimidation, realized they were facing something far beyond their understanding. The end game. Now, Miller continued, let me show you what human weapons can really do. The Warhound fired a single shot, not at a ship, but at a large asteroid floating nearby. The projectile struck the rock, and it simply vanished, converted to plasma and debris in an instant. That asteroid was larger than your flagship, General. My next shot will be at you. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and release the civilian ship. On the Rock flagship, panic was setting in. These weren't just warriors they were facing. These were apex predators from a world that had tried to kill them every day of their evolution. The pirates, who had spent their lives bullying the weak, were experiencing what it felt like to be prey. Sir, Krell whispered, your orders? General Voss stared at the human ship, knowing that his next decision would determine whether his remaining crews lived or died. For the first time in his life, the mighty Rock General felt small. General Voss's massive hands shook as he reached for his command console. Around him, his bridge crew watched in silent terror. The human ship hung in space, like a dark angel of death, waiting for his decision. Sir, 15 seconds, Krell whispered. Voss had built his reputation on never backing down, never showing weakness. But what was the point of reputation if you were dead? He activated the fleet-wide communication. All ships stand down. Power. Down weapons and shields. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but the alternative was extinction. One by one, the remaining Rock ships went dark, their weapons offline. Commander Miller's voice came through the comm, still professional, still cold. General, order your ships to move to coordinates I'm transmitting. Any vessel that deviates from that course will be destroyed. Voss looked at the coordinates, empty space, far from any jump routes. You mean to strand us? I mean to ensure you can't hurt anyone else while we figure out what to do with you. The rescue with the pirates neutralized, the Warhound approached. The Starlight Dream. Captain Nira watched nervously as the human ship drew alongside. She'd seen what those weapons could do. Captain Nira. Miller's voice was different now, warmer, almost gentle. Are you and your passengers safe? Do you need medical assistance? We're unharmed, Commander, but I don't understand. Why did you help us? Your species hardly knows ours. There was a pause before Miller answered. Captain, where I come from, when someone calls for help, you answer. It doesn't matter who they are or what they can give you in return. It's just what decent people do. Nira felt tears in her large eyes. In all her years of studying galactic politics, she'd never heard such a simple, pure reason for action. Commander, how can we repay you? What do humans want from us? Miller's laugh was warm this time, nothing like the cold sound the pirates had heard. Ma'am, you don't owe us anything. Just get your people home safe. That's payment enough. The captured rock ships sat in their designated coordinates, their crews uncertain of their future. General Voss had expected execution. It's what he would have done to defeated enemies. Instead, the humans seemed to be waiting. General, Krell reported, the human ship is transmitting something to the Galactic Council. They're reporting our crimes? Voss frowned. They're not going to execute us. It seems they're turning us over to Council justice, sir. This was unprecedented. In rock culture, the strong took what they wanted and destroyed their enemies. But the humans, despite being clearly stronger, were following galactic law. It made no sense to the pirate General. Commander Miller's face appeared on screen again. General Voss, Galactic Council ships are en route to take you into custody. You and your crews will face trial for piracy and attempted slavery. Why? Voss demanded. You defeated us. By right of conquest, you could do anything you want with us. Miller's expression was puzzled, as if the question made no sense. General, we're not conquerors. We're peacekeepers. There's a difference. The departure as the Starlight Dream prepared to continue its journey, Captain Nira requested one final communication with the human commander. Commander Miller, I need to ask you something. The other council species, they would have debated. Formed committees required payment. You just came when we called. Why? Miller was quiet for a moment, looking out at the stars. Captain, my species has a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We learned long ago that if you don't stand up to bullies, they just find more victims. But you risked your lives for strangers. That's what makes life worth living, Captain. Knowing that when someone needs help, someone else will answer the call. As the human ship prepared to depart, Nira's communications officer looked up from his console. Captain, I'm receiving reports from across the sector. Word is spreading about what happened here. What kind of reports? Other species, ma'am. They're talking about the humans. Some are afraid, but others are hopeful. They're saying that maybe the galaxy has protectors now. Real protectors. Nira watched the Warhound disappear into hyperspace, carrying its crew of unlikely heroes back to their patrol routes. She thought about the commander's words and realized something important. The humans weren't feared because they were cruel. They were feared because they were just, and justice was the most terrifying thing in the universe to those who prayed. On the innocent, the Kalari had called for aid, expecting mercy. Instead, they'd received something far more valuable, the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness between stars, warriors stood ready to answer when good people called for help. 3 months later, the Galactic Council chambers buzzed with tension, as representatives from dozens of species gathered for an emergency session. The topic, humanity's growing influence in galactic peacekeeping operations. Ambassador Kala, a tall, elegant Centauri with silver skin, stood at the central podium. Her species had dominated council politics for centuries through careful diplomacy and measured responses. Now she faced a challenge that threatened everything they'd built. Honorable members, she began, we must address the human situation. In the past 3 months alone, Earth vessels have intervened in 47 separate incidents across council space. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Representative Vel of the Vexen Collective, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline form, pulsed with agitation. The humans ignore proper channels. They don't request permission. They don't follow protocols. They simply act. The Human Response Ambassador David Park, Earth's representative to the Council, stood calmly as accusations flew around him. He was a veteran diplomat, but his scarred hands told of a military past. Like many humans in positions of authority, he'd earned his place through action, not just words. Honorable members, he said when the chamber quieted, my species has a simple philosophy. When innocent people call for help, we answer. We don't form committees to debate whether they deserve saving. But you're destabilizing the balance of power, protested Ambassador Kala. The Council has maintained peace for over 1,000 years through careful negotiation and measured responses. David's smile was patient but firm. Ambassador, with respect, you've maintained the appearance of peace. Meanwhile, pirates like the Rock Empire enslaved entire populations while you debated proper procedure. The chamber erupted in angry voices, but David continued. In those 3 months you mentioned, human ships have rescued over 50,000. Civilians stopped 31 slave raids and eliminated 7 pirate fleets. How many did the Council save in that same time? The silence that followed was deafening. The ripple effect on her home world of Kelara Prime. Captain Nira stood before a crowd of her own people. The rescue of the Starlight Dream had made her famous. But more importantly, it had changed how her species viewed the galaxy. For generations, we accepted that the strong would prey upon the weak, she told the assembly. We built beautiful ships with no weapons, traveled dangerous space with no protection, and when pirates came, we simply hoped someone might eventually help us. She gestured to a hologram, showing the Warhound in battle. But the humans showed. Use something different. They showed us that strength doesn't have to mean cruelty, and that the strong have a duty to protect the weak. A young Kaleri in the crowd raised her hand. Captain, what are you saying we should do? Nira's large eyes glowed with determination. I'm saying it's time we learn to protect ourselves. And if we can't do it alone, then maybe it's time we allied ourselves with those who share our values. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Species that had spent centuries as prey were beginning to organize, to arm themselves, to stand up to their oppressors. And they all looked to humanity as an example. The new reality back in the council chambers. Ambassador Park delivered his final statement. Members of the council, humanity doesn't seek to rule the galaxy. We don't want your territory, your resources, or your submission. We want something much simpler. A galaxy where good people can live without fear. He paused, looking around the chamber at beings from dozens of worlds. You can either help us build that galaxy, or you can continue your endless debates while innocent people suffer. But understand this. We will not ask permission to do what's right. As the session ended, Ambassador Kala approached the human representative. Ambassador Park, do you realize what you're doing? You're changing everything. The old order, the careful balance we've maintained. Ambassador, David replied gently. The old order failed the moment it decided the process was more important than people. We're not destroying your system. We're showing you what it could become. The final message light years away. Commander Miller sat in the captain's chair of the Warhound, reading reports from across human space. Every day brought new calls for help, new crises that demanded action. His crew was tired, but their morale had never been higher. Lieutenant Torres looked up from her console. Sir, we're receiving another distress call. Civilian transport under attack by raiders in the Outer Rim. Miller smiled, not the cold smile he'd shown the pirates, but the warm expression of a man who knew his purpose. Set course to intercept. Lieutenant, best speed. As the Warhound jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew toward another desperate battle, Miller thought about the message spreading across the galaxy. The aliens had pleaded for aid, expecting mercy. Instead, they'd received something far more powerful: hope. Hope that the strong would protect the weak, that justice would triumph over cruelty, and that when darkness fell across the stars, somewhere in the void, humans would be there to light the way. The Deathworlders hadn't sent mercy. They'd sent something better. They'd sent themselves.